And here we go with the audio recording, starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, welcome to Inside the Locker. My name is Ramon Ramirez. With me, as always, Oneofus.net.
Hey,
JC DeLeon.
what's up?
Logan Yuri on the boards.
That's me.
And you know my dog Penny's out here somewhere. Hey, Penny, how you doing? So, look, we have a lot to talk about, but I think we should lead off with something that Brian covered in the Highly Suspect review, but we want to get your original original take since you saw this movie, and that is, it sounds like the new James Bond, Spectre, kind of is not that good. Elliot, why don't you elaborate?
Yeah, it's underwhelming, is what I would say. It has like all the pieces that you want there. It's really interesting. You're intrigued while you're watching it, but it's to no payoff, and it retroactively makes a lot of the points in the previous Daniel Craig movies it lessens them. Like, because Casino Royale was great. Skyfall's really good. I like Casino Royale. I mean, Quantum of Solace. But this one is just it's like they just said, hey, we got a contract. We got to make this next one. Let's just make it and make some money and then get out of here.
Okay.
They weren't trying to accomplish anything. They were just like, we got to make a Bond movie. This is his last one, so let's just wait till the next. It's like, it felt like Die Another Day did for Pierce Brosnan. It's just, let's just get his last one out the way, get the new guy.
Big words from Elliot.
Well, I've heard that this might not be the last one with Daniel Craig.
I thought it was his last one.
I don't know.
He's under contract for another one, but
I mean, I like him as Bond. Like, I just wish they would. I wish the script was better developed. Like, there's nothing about that movie that is wrong from an execution standpoint. It's the blueprint that they gave the director and the actors did not do them any service, because it was every trope that Austin Powers made fun of. It did everything that you think that.
like what?
Like he's saved at the last minute by a gadget that the villain doesn't notice, and the villain doesn't just shoot him or even like really try to restrain him all that much. He tries to torture him a little bit in this elaborate thing, and it's like, he's gonna get out of that, right?
Yeah.
Or their big I get another one. Their big lair is this place in the middle of the desert with solar panels to obsessively give them energy, but there's gas everywhere. Like, why do you, and like the thing blows up, it's like, you're in the middle of the desert, you get like year-round sun, and you have solar panels, like we've seen it. Why do you have gas everywhere?
Yeah.
Like, and the stakes aren't really high, because the stakes in the movie, the only thing that's at stake is whether Spectre's gonna get access to surveillance. Like, if they can figure out what you're posting on Facebook. It's like, fuck, I post about cats most of the time. Here you go.
Well, that sounds
The most diabolical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, when we talk villains, it's like they have a warehouse lair. That's where it's cheap.
Well, it's sort of like Quantum of Solace, where like people gave that movie a lot of shit because the ultimate thing about the villain's plot there was, I want to control water. I want to sell water to people for 4 times the cost. And it's like that's it.
That's a $1 million kind of a stakes thing.
Like, and you find out that the villain, like, he's been the guy, and he's like, is it a coincidence that all of your girlfriends have died? It's like, so you just were just a massive cock block. That's all you were doing. You were like, everything else did not matter. It's as long as James Bond never got to be with the woman he loved. He just had to fall face forward into pussy every time he walked around. But yeah, okay, whatever.
I feel that. Well, we got a lot to talk about. NBA season is upon us. I think very quickly, I think it's very obvious who is good and who is not. And I think there's already 4 or 5 teams. I'm going to say this, Clippers, the team that we support, the team that I love more than anything, very clearly have the best starting 5 in the league, and the bench is coming together with some really dangerous pieces.
And they did not lose by 50 to the Golden State Warriors.
No, in fact, they were up on the Warriors, went back and forth on the Warriors. When it was the 5 against the 5, I really think the Clippers played a better game. Unfortunately, that second unit is just not ready to compete yet. You have Austin Rivers looking kind of clunky. I don't think he'll ever get much better. Lance Stevenson kind of coming into his own. Paul Pierce, he's going to have nights where he's just completely useless. Lance Stevenson drives to the basket without any plans, without any urgency. There's a lot of just bad turnovers.
Is that the flopper from a few years ago?
No, he was on the Pacers. So they got a
Yeah,
kid.
he was the flopper.
Blowing kisses at LeBron.
Yeah. He's the one that flopped and then looked up.
Yeah. So
Yeah, even before the season started, I basically said the season would kind of boil down to one of three teams: Cleveland, Golden State, or San Antonio, with maybe Houston being a dark horse. But now, like after a week, and it's still early, but I would say a dark horse is definitely the Clippers because they need that second unit to come together.
What about
Houston? Houston isn't as good. Man, I don't know what's going on with Anthony Davis. He's not having a great start to the year.
well, yeah, we're all 5 games into the season,
Right.
But I will say that I'm very engaged. I'm very this is the first time in a long time where I've been this jacked since I was a young cat.
Yeah. I'm amped for this season. Yeah, like Blake Griffin a couple of years ago, not this past season, but the season before. I was saying that Blake really came into his own, and I felt like he should be getting MVP votes because he had expanded his game that much. A couple of years ago, I was saying he's more than just a dunker, and a lot of people, including Brian's brother, would fight me on that. But no, I mean, this year he's proven he's more of a leader. He's doing a little bit more of everything. That high pick and roll that he runs with DeAndre Jordan, no power forward and center combo in the league does that, and it's deadly.
Yeah. A couple of surprise teams that looked pretty good early on. The Suns, above 500. They've thrashed the bad teams like the Kings. Currently sitting in 4th place in the Western Conference. A team like the Grizzlies. That, I don't know. I mean, again,
did they get beat by 50? Is that by Golden State?
Grizzly, I mean, yeah. Prefacing everything, like I said, with it being early, Grizzlies having some defensive troubles did more than I think people anticipated. Houston started up the season really badly. New Orleans did as well. San Antonio is really kind of, I mean, nobody really knows about San Antonio because they don't care very much about the regular season. San Antonio is an interesting experiment because they're trying to figure out how to play with LaMarcus Aldridge because people thought he was going to be such a huge addition. He's really only going to get 10, 11 touches a game. And when Duncan and Aldridge are in the game at the same time, that offense comes to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
And it's kind of boring to watch. And
well, look, I really maintain that the Warriors and the Clippers and the Thunders are in a separate class. I think the Spurs are not going anywhere. I think the Rockets had their run last year. I think this year the conference finals is going to be Warriors Clippers. That's already that's the rivalry. That's where this is all leading up to.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's a major injury, and that's all it takes is one injury to change everything. Obviously,
yeah.
Last year with
in the New York Minute.
And that's the thing about the Thunder. The Thunder are good enough with just Durant and Westbrook and Ibaka. But yeah, any one of those 3 guys goes down and it's game over.
It changes everything.
With the Clippers and the Warriors, they could withstand a couple of injuries. The Warriors, I think, haven't had Bogut for the first few games, and I don't think anybody's noticed.
Well, I certainly have. But again, I think the Clippers have. You saw them take the Warriors down to 105, narrowly lose last night on the road. But with the second unit that has a lot of upside and is still figuring out how the hell to play together. So I think that ceiling is wide open. I'm very excited. You had a thought.
I was going to make a terrible joke about which one is the Sharks, which one is the Jets.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I think people like the Warriors. I think people generally don't like the Clippers. Not exactly sure though. I mean, I do think people like Steph Curry a lot more than like the nation realizes. Like he's very, very good, and he's like affable, and he's
he's extremely likable. I don't know.
Yeah, he's really punchable.
He's like light skinned. But
that's why people like him so much.
Yeah, you can because he looks.
He's Ron from a different world.
He looks cuddly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I kind of been raising this question also. Like, people don't like LeBron for a lot of various reasons. They always point to the way he went to Miami, and they always say he's super arrogant, very cocky, and that's unbecoming. And I don't think people pay enough attention to how arrogant and cocky the Warriors really are.
Thank you.
And it doesn't bother me personally, but they are
the double standard.
Right. They are the kind of arrogant and cocky that people seem to not like, but they like the Warriors because the Warriors are cuddly. And I'm kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you're seeing it a little bit. I've seen a couple of articles highlighting the way Steph Curry trained in this offseason. And one headline was like, "We get it, Steph. You're really special."
Yeah.
So it's starting to happen. I think it's gonna be interesting to see when people start disliking the Warriors, because it's bound to happen.
We'll see now very quickly in the East. We have one undefeated team in the East, the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah,
Very
Uh,
savvy.
You were talking to us a little bit about that in the preseason preview and the kind of like teams to watch rundown, because I think most of us think the Cavs, and then we don't really have to pay. I mean, there's teams like the Knicks and the Pacers that are kind of like perennial classic teams. They're kind of better than expected. Kristaps Porzingis, already the most electric white 20-year-old player in the league.
Yeah, totally okay with admitting how wrong I was about him. I didn't think he was going to be a great player. Well, he's awesome. He's really fun to watch.
You know, I've been a Knicks fan since 1993, and I have a bunch of Knicks gear, and so I'm like, all right, it's time to get my Porzingis jersey. I'm in.
Dude, they run a pick and pop where he steps back and shoots a three. That's impossible to stop. Nobody can stop that.
It's beautiful. So we'll see. We'll see what happens going forward. But tell me about the Raptors. Raptors 5-0. Is this a team that can?
Though they look to have improved a little bit from what they did last year. Last year they were close. The last couple of years they've been sort of that team to watch in the East. It's kind of close, but sort of not close enough. I talked about how Kyle Lowry came into camp this year having dropped 20 pounds, and he was never a heavy point guard to begin with. And he kind of came into camp. People were like, "Whoa, we didn't know he could be this skinny." He's a lot quicker. He's a lot more efficient. Him and DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is going to be a lot healthier this year. They're playing really well together. They added DeMarre Carroll from Atlanta, and that seems to be helping a lot. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Did you see the story this morning about the Chicago Bulls have said that they're sort of moving on from Derrick Rose?
Yeah, the Bulls have regressed a little bit, and they've regressed more than I thought they were going to, but the biggest area of regression is in their defense, which is a Thibodeau staple. And now that he's not there, they gave up 130 points to Charlotte the other day. Charlotte's not going to be good. But yeah, and then they trounced the Bulls. It's going to be interesting to see because Derrick Rose, he's not the guy in Chicago. Clearly, it's Jimmy Butler and Mirotich's team. And,
so I'm curious. All I've heard for the past few years has just been Derrick Rose is just amazing. But like, what happened to him?
He's made of glass.
Yeah, he tore his ACL in the middle of a playoff run. Came back the next season, tore the other ACL. Came back the season after that, had another knee surgery, and he's always injured. And he's really unaware of people's perception of him. He seems to think he's still an elite player. He talks about how he's already talking about his next contract, which is not up this season, it's up the season after that. And I mean, that's something you don't do in general. You don't do at all, really, no matter who you are in the NBA. And so, yeah, he's just very tone deaf to people's perception of him, and it's turned a lot of people off. And it's kind of sad because he's from Chicago, and it was a great story that he was drafted by Chicago and went on to win the MVP, but now they kind of moved on from him.
He's one of those cautionary tales where, you know, that I feel like you can tell like a high school kid who's really good at any sport. It's like, look, you can be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get hurt, like you're human, like you're not made of steel. It doesn't matter how good you are. A lot of this is just luck and staying healthy.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about college football.
Yeah.
Woo! We have a big game this weekend between.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
Hey, everybody relax. We have Stanford heading to Boulder to play the Colorado Buffaloes. No, I'm kidding. Before we build up to the big game of the week, I do want to talk a little bit about the college football playoff rankings that came out. For those of you that haven't caught it, number 10 Florida, number 9 Iowa, number 8 TCU, number 7 Michigan State, number 6 Baylor, number 5 Notre Dame, number 4 Alabama, number 3 Ohio State, number 2 LSU, number 1 Clemson. Now again,
Clemson was number 1?
Clemson's number 1.
Clemson's
What kind of world am I living in?
And again, to be very clear, these are the rankings that the College Football Playoff Committee has set down and dispensed. These are not the polls. These are not the Associated Press. This is where this is coming from. So a couple of things to look at here. What's up with the Pac-12? Your 2 leading Pac-12 teams, Stanford and Utah, both ranked outside the top 10.
What's their record?
Each is 7-1.
Okay.
Each is overcoming a bad early season loss, but they've pummeled a lot of ranked teams. And so I think right now the big loser coming out of this is the Pac-12. Pac-12 has a long way to go before it can really get in there. Stanford and Utah, though, are your two contenders. All right, number 9. And this is the team that might just troll everybody. And this is the scenario that I can't wait. All of a sudden, your Iowa Hawkeyes are 8-0, and we'll have an opportunity to knock off either Ohio State or Michigan State. And if they do that,
oh my God, I hope they beat both of them.
well, it doesn't. I mean, they don't play either of them.
Okay.
They'll play one of them in the Big Ten title game,
Oh, knock them off.
or Michigan theoretically, but
Fuck Ohio
highly
State.
unlikely at this point.
Also, if you haven't at this point seen the viral video of like how to talk to your children about an undefeated Iowa team, it's pretty classic.
It's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
It's
But
pretty good.
they could be the troll of this whole thing. It's just, hey guys, Iowa in the house. It's pretty fucking amazing. All right, now on to the Big 12. Big 12 again is in a position where they have 2 undefeated teams ranked in the top 5. Neither is in the college football ranking. Although I'll say,
Sucks to suck.
I think those are pretty fair criticisms that, hey, you don't pass the eyeball test. I mean,
Yeah.
I think right now Baylor and TCU. Now, if they were named Texas and Oklahoma and they were undefeated teams in the top 4, I'm pretty sure the College Playoff Football Committee would have room for them. But,
Yep.
but Baylor and TCU are not there yet as national programs. And again, they are on the outside looking in. A team that I'm very excited about right now and I think should run the table has, Colin Cowherd on his Fox program was saying that he talked to like an NFL executive and he was like, look, Notre Dame has 5 or 6 first, second-round players. Guys like Will Fuller, that wide receiver. Just a big, talented, real deal kind of team. And then Notre Dame is going to have every opportunity to fight back into this. I mean, in fact, right now, this time next week, you can expect to see Notre Dame in the top 4 because Alabama and LSU will play each other.
You make a good point because, like, functionally, Notre Dame is 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, LSU and Alabama are basically tied, and they're going to have a tiebreaker this weekend.
Yeah.
So all these people losing their shit need to just calm the fuck
Just calm
down.
the fuck down. It doesn't matter. And honestly, we can talk about strength of schedule. We can talk about bad losses. Alabama lost a tough one on the road to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a ranked team. Ole Miss is also a team, and this is where it's kind of hard to believe. We could have LSU and Alabama in the top 10. We'd have Ole Miss represent the SEC East in the SEC West in the SEC title game.
And if they win that, they're in the playoff.
Yeah, they control. Ole Miss controls its own destiny.
The South will rise again.
A lot's going on now. I want to ask you. I want to start with Logan. What do we think of Clemson as number 1? Do we think Clemson has the talent to finish off this season and go undefeated?
I think that's certainly overranked. I think that Clemson is an excellent team, but I was shocked that they were ranked number 1 on that poll. I think that they've absolutely played like they deserve to be in the playoff, but number 1 seems kind of nuts to me.
Well,
Yeah.
see, I agree, but I tell you, and I can say as an LSU fan, LSU is very suspect. Like, they're getting decent play out of their quarterback, but LSU
It's definitely stepped up in the past couple of
yeah,
years.
but see, LSU, they win like a boa constrictor. Like, they just basically choke the life out of you by just taking all the time away from you. So all these high octane, like, spread offenses, they can't get on the fucking field because you got them just chewing up yards and chewing up time. So, like, it's not what people are used to seeing. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think they're going to win the championship. I just don't. I don't think they're there.
Yeah.
Well, how much of that love do you think is attributed to Leonard Fournette?
What do you mean? Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's what you beat me to the point.
Well,
yeah.
there's some big talent, and Leonard Fournette is, I think at this point you have to consider him the front runner for the Heisman.
Yeah, I think that it all should be pointed out that this is still, it's just a little bit over halfway through the season. Like, there's still a lot of football left to be played. Yeah. So,
and I think
things are going to shake themselves out.
To that point, Logan, I'm sorry to interrupt. Conferences have done a really good job of scheduling drama, of setting everything up for November. So, there's going to be, all these teams are going to eat each other. Baylor and TCU play each other. Michigan State and Ohio State play each other. Alabama and LSU play each other. Notre Dame and Clemson already played each other. Iowa's still trolling. Still hanging.
But you just said a good point though. It's like these conferences all this drama up, and they end up eating themselves, and that's why if you have an Ohio State, an SEC 1-loss team, a really good ACC team, and a Big Ten, and a Pac-12 team, if you got a TCU and a Baylor sitting out there undefeated, who have they played?
Yep.
I mean, and you're right. If it's Texas, just on the pedigree, I can see them jumping somebody. Or it's Oklahoma. But it's like if I'm looking at these teams who play these big playoff style matchups in November versus Baylor, who played Our Ladies of the Incarnate Word. It's like, well, I don't really know what to say yet.
And even tonight, as we watch it, they just finalized the game tonight, where they beat Kansas State 31-24. And Kansas State this year, while they can beat anybody, they're a down team this year.
Lost bad at Texas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think Baylor, Baylor's one of those teams that could run the table and might still not get it, depending on how it shakes out.
I think that I think you're right, because these rankings set it up to where if LSU beats Alabama and then loses, if they lose to Ole Miss, but not even Ole Miss, say they lose to I tell you who they lose to. We always lose to fucking Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's like if they lose to Arkansas, LSU can still get in if they win the championship, and these rankings are setting that up to allow a one-loss SEC team in. Because the argument's like, well, you let Alabama in at number 4 with 1 loss. So I mean, we tend to lose against fucking Arkansas because Arkansas is just fucking crazy. Like they just sort of they don't play all year, and they're like, man, it's after Thanksgiving. I'm gonna go just ruin somebody's season. Boom.
I will give the committee credit in learning a lesson from last year, and that we're not just gonna give Ohio State the #1 ranking because they're the defending champs and they're undefeated.
Yeah.
They've sort of been shitty this year.
They're going by the eye test, and that's good.
Yeah, it's definitely been suspect for sure. Yeah.
So, I think we should probably do a little prediction game. It's going to change week to week, but as it stands right now, who do you like in your Final Four? I suppose I'll go first. I think Clemson's schedule. Clemson can lock this up this weekend, playing Florida State. After that, it's at Syracuse, kind of a tough Carrier Dome situation, but I think they can win that. Wake Forest at South Carolina, it's down near. ACC championship game, should be able to win that no matter what. And then Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is going to finish this season. Notre Dame is not eligible to play in the ACC championship. Notre Dame's final game would be at Stanford on November 28th.
Oh, that's a good final game, though.
You win that game,
you're in.
You're in.
It's basically a championship.
I think Notre Dame and Clemson are in, and I think that's tough cookies for a lot of schools.
It's pretty much tough cookies for Baylor or TCU.
For Baylor, TCU,
fuck Baylor and TCU.
for the SEC, for the Pac-12. I'm not sure how that shakes out, but
I don't see Stanford or Utah doing anything to get even close to sniff the top 4.
It's hard to say. I like Clemson. I like Notre Dame. Iowa controls its own destiny, and I think TCU is the real deal. I do think TCU is good enough to win out, and I'd be very surprised if TCU, given what happened last year, given what's going to happen this year. Still got to play Oklahoma. Still got to play Baylor. You win those 2 games to TCU, I think you have the upside to get in there. I'd like to see Clemson, Notre Dame, and TCU in there with, I'm kind of thinking Iowa really might ruin this for everybody.
I'm definitely thinking that the lack of the Big 12 championship game, it really just is going to kill both. Like whoever wins out, Baylor or TCU, it's going to kill them. And I think it's going to bite them in the ass again this year.
But I don't see them getting leapfrogged by a Pac-12 team, and I don't see
because they're not.
But I think that it's going to be
like Clemson, Notre Dame, Big 10, SEC.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it.
I kind of think you're right.
Yeah, I think Clemson, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and then the SEC rep.
So 1 loss. Say Alabama wins out. Obviously, if LSU wins out undefeated, no question.
It's definitely going to be the SEC champion. Whoever wins that makes it. Unless it's something crazy like.
I agree. They could be a 2-loss SEC champion, and they're going to be there.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree. They probably should be in there. I think that'd be hard. You can't.
LSU won the championship in 2007 with 2 losses.
Yeah, and I think because of the way you said Iowa could play spoiler, I basically think the top 4 could be your ACC champion, your SEC champion, your Big 10, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan State, or Iowa, and then Notre Dame.
So basically, this playoff has just left us with 1 wild card, which is pretty cool. Because it used to be no wild cards. It used to be if you're not undefeated, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But now there's this 1 wild card that if you get healthy at the right part of the season, you can pull in Ohio State and just come from 4 and get the fucking championship.
I like that, but I also think that the final solution to borrow a phrase from the
That was.
From Hitler.
I was like, do we need a permanent revolution?
The
Are we gonna do
final
that?
solution is to turn this into an 8-game thing. Just an 8 team, 8.
But here's the
8
problem.
school playoff.
Here's
no.
the
Let me finish. You got 8 schools in there. Right now, that would be Clemson, TCU, and that'd be a pretty damn good game. Those are both undefeated teams. That allows you to put 5 conference champions and 3 wild cards in a very realistic 1-8, 2-7, 3-4.
that messes up the regular
It
season.
doesn't mess up anything. In the
I
regular
love
season.
watching
It's
college
still-
football regular season. It wouldn't matter anymore. I could just not watch until in November.
That's absurd because you'd be looking at Iowa, Florida State, Utah, Memphis, Oklahoma State, Florida State, Michigan, Mississippi, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. That's just the. I mean, come on. It would be. I think that's the most when we talk about competitive balance, when we talk about finding the right champion and playing this thing out the way it needs to play out, I'd extend it around and bring in the 8 teams. But hey, it sure beats the BCS. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the NFL, and before we do that, I think I don't know. Are we talking enough geek stuff? You tell us, listener. Tweet us at itlcast. Just at itlcast and say, hey, I think you guys should shut the fuck up and talk about this for a little bit, and we'll listen. Let us know. We value your opinion. We this show is only fun if it's fun for you, and we appreciate you listening to it. Right? I think that's all there is to it. And we'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Southern Comfort.
To be fair, though, there's not that much geek news out this week. Like the Star Wars Force Awakens trailer just sort of sucked all the oxygen out the room.
It really is just all Star Wars at this point.
So I mean, there's nothing really to talk about.
Have you guys seen those Mr. Plinkett reviews for the first 3?
Mm-hmm.
You got I recently saw them on the recommendation of a colleague here at the Daily Dot, and it was like there's this guy named Mr. Plinkett. It's a company called Red Letter Media, and he's like a character. And he reviews. Each is an hour-long review. He goes an hour long on Phantom Menace, hour long on Attack of the Clones, hour long on Vengeance Sith, and he rips those movies a new one. And he goes point by point on how stupid and pointless they are. And really, I mean, think about all right. This was one of the things that he did, and he asked his friends, okay, describe this character from the Star Wars franchise without telling me what they look like, what their purpose in the movie is.
I want to play this game.
And so all right,
If you're, we can play it.
Yeah, let's play
yeah,
it. Come on,
yeah, all
I wanna
right.
play it.
Logan, Han Solo. Describe Han Solo again without telling me what he wears, what he looks like, what his purpose is in the movie.
He's a brash loner who is trying to make a buck, and but has a good heart along the way too.
Cool. JC, describe Princess Leia.
It's the first one based on what we do know, or
Based on the movies. Based on the movies. Describe the character again without telling me what her purpose in the movie is or what she wears.
Probably angelic is a word that maybe comes to mind.
Archetypal.
Yeah.
She serves that sort of.
I mean, assertive. I mean, even though it's more of a personality type, it's pretty evident from just looking at her and the way she, moves throughout the movies. So I would say assertive and strong.
I love it. All right, Elliot. Qui-Gon Jinn.
Wise, arrogant, overconfident in what he thinks is the right way, in contradiction to everybody else,
Okay.
and also callous in that he thinks, "Oh no, I'm gonna take this slave from his mom, but leave his mom there. That's not gonna cause any problems."
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure he said not to bring up the movie.
Yeah.
His role in the
Well,
movie.
you told me what he did, not who he is.
Oh no, I forgot to. Okay. So say
Yeah.
no. Okay, so say again the rules just real quick.
So describe a character without telling me what he looks like,
Okay.
and what his plot device was in the movie.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
If you want, you can go general personality trait like I did.
Well, I mean, my thing would be he's very wise, he's very self-assured, but he lets that bleed into being arrogant.
Okay, I think that's fair.
And he's spiritual because he stops in the middle of a fight in the Phantom Menace and meditates. Very contemplative.
Now that said, we're at a point right now where these movies are on people's minds. This, like Mr. Plinkett, came out a year ago, and so when he did the review and he basically went through that exercise, and he would give him a character from the original.
It is harder
trilogy.
though.
It's like because there's no real depth or like development. And the other thing is all right. Well, let me ask you this: who was the main character of the Phantom Menace?
The main character of the Phantom Menace is going to be Anakin Skywalker.
Why? He's like a little kid that has like 8 lines of dialogue in the movie. He's the most.
It's always Anakin.
But everything's centering around here.
But he's not the protagonist. He doesn't.
Yes, he is.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't save the day. He doesn't.
Yes, he saves the day in the
He doesn't.
in the Naboo starfighters.
That's true.
He saves part of the day. Like that's an integral part of the final act.
The movie is about Anakin Skywalker, unfortunately.
But he is not a protagonist in the movie.
Yes, he is. Like, actually, I can bring this into another point.
We don't see him until an hour into the movie. He doesn't advance the plot. He's not in control of the situation, and we don't learn anything about him.
But like that doesn't matter. The movie is still about it.
We know, right? We know that because we know that it's the story of Darth Vader, and everything is sort of reverse engineered so that we can set up.
But the fact that movie is not about him actually serves the story better because the entire first 3 movies are about how Anakin is manipulated into becoming what he ostensibly hates.
Well, that's another good question, right? How was he seduced by the dark side, and how did he become this like wonderful Jedi? Like we never. In 6 hours of bullshit movie, we never see him become a Jedi. We never see him train to be a Jedi. We just see him like all of a sudden you can kick some ass. All of a sudden you have a rat tail.
Yeah, the second movie opens with him getting off that ship.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you can do all this cool shit now.
It's I don't know. I guess
I think that's right. Yeah.
The other thing is that I think I think it's just a stupid idea, a fundamentally stupid idea to make Darth Vader more complicated than he needed to be.
Yeah.
And to make it seem like Anakin Skywalker was more interesting of a character than Luke Skywalker. And also, I just think Star Wars movies, like in general, Luke, like, and again, I'm not necessarily parroting what these things, because the other thing is like these videos are like really funny because the guy, the Mr. Plinkett guy, he like rips them to shreds, but then he also, as he's telling the thing, it becomes clear that he's like a mass murderer and like kind of like crazy, and it's really, really funny. It's really kind of borderline genius. But yeah, I think those movies suck. I don't think there's anything redeemable about them, and I think it's very depressing. Because we ran this thing in the Daily Dot this week where we had a colleague named Allie who's very talented, very awesome.
The Jar Jar Binks thing?
No, she had never seen Star Wars, and she watched all 6 of the movies together. Yeah. Now, the problem with that is that like it's to me it's unacceptable and it's irresponsible to
see episode order.
To see those.
You should see 4 first, 4, 5,
well,
6.
You can't see those. We should discard and pretend that the prequels never happened.
And at this point, I'd watch them in machete order.
What does that mean?
Yeah, the machete order is you watch them in the order which the idea is actually at a certain point you're actually kind of prioritizing the Luke storyline. So what you do is you start off with 4, so with the original ones, 4, and then 5, and then at the end of Return of the Jedi, or at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, then that's you go to episode 2, skip episode 1 completely, go to episode 2, 3, and then 6.
That actually is a great order because like it's almost like after you have such a horrible letdown in the 2 where it's like everything's shitty, you go back and see what made it.
So basically what happens is you go through, if you've never watched it before, you follow the story of this kid Luke growing up and then goes all the way through the point of, spoiler to people who have never heard of this.
You don't have to say spoiler.
I know, it's a joke.
Yeah, fuck them.
It's a joke. But like as soon as you find out that Vader is Luke's father, then you go back to the backstory of Vader and see his downfall, and then you catch back up into the present and you see kind of all the redemption in 6. And that's how I'm planning on rewatching it before the next episode.
I tell you this, like that actually reminds me of this really cool fan theory I read this week. That I'm going to say this, and y'all are going to say you're full of shit. This is just something somebody on the internet. It's not real. I almost never give any kind of credence to a fan theory. But this guy on Reddit, like he put together and it's complicated. Like there's an entire subreddit devoted to it.
You're talking about the Jar Jar.
The Darth Jar Jar, and like they take it apart. It is very.
Can you give us the TLDR?
TLDR. Jar Jar Binks was the mastermind. He was the Phantom Menace in the Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And there was such a bad reaction. That was the plan. He was supposed to mirror Yoda and be the bumbling idiot who turns out to be the master. But he was so hated that they couldn't do that.
Master.
Yeah, and it's like they actually took apart the moves, like that he had it, and it's basically it mirrors drunken warrior fighting from China. Like it's really compelling, and I'm just saying, like, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole,
tell us what's compelling about it.
Well, because like they go through the moves, like they say, okay, well, perfect example, the Trade Federation in the first movie is not attacking the Gungan. Why would a Gungan be there? Gungans don't live in the fucking forest; they live underwater. They were attacking the Naboo. Why would he be there except if he's the Dark Master, and he wants to get in on the ground floor, manipulating some Jedi? He can sense Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan because like they're fucking beacons of the Force.
Well,
and he then attaches himself onto them. He's working with the Emperor. He's working with Senator Palpatine the entire time. They live on the same fucking planet, which in galactic scale is like living next door. Like he uses hand gestures at points where he gets promotions. Like he uses a hand gestures when he's talking to the Gungan King and he becomes a general. Yeah, and he uses a hand gesture in the second movie where he's talking to Natalie Portman's character, becomes a senator. Yeah. Then he is the character in the Senate that dissolves the Senate and gives the power to Palpatine.
But he did that after like he was stupidly coerced and tricked into it by Palpatine.
Well, no, the idea is that he's kind of coming across as just like a bumbling idiot, but in fact, like, so if you watch him during like the battle scenes, he's like strangely adept, even though he appears like an idiot, which just goes back to the drunken warrior thing, where he's like stumbling around, but is still like blowing up all these droids and stuff like that in the course of it. And it's stuff like
the thing on Naboo where he's jumped off the ledge.
Yeah,
he then shifts his location, but there's a robot that sort of reacts to it, and the animators wouldn't have done that without direction. Like you wouldn't just animate something wrong. Yeah, it had to have a reason for everything you're animating.
It's definitely a fan theory, but it's a pretty interesting and like kind of fun.
If you want to read it, Ramon, it's on tickled.com.
That sounds very fun.
Well, the guy who played Jar Jar tweeted out, "It's nice to finally see the truth come out."
It's really funny. Look, I think that's a cool idea. I also think, and I think this is very important, if you're a parent out there, if you got kids, if you're introducing this to someone for the first time, pretend the prequels didn't happen because they are idiotic and irredeemable, terrible, pointless, anti-filmmaking, poisonous, and almost ruined this really fun
I still think
I disagree.
I still think that the machete one that I discussed before
that's very interesting.
Is the way to watch this.
I'd say if you can cut out 1, 2, and 3 are really, really, really good.
And if you're listening to this, I don't imagine you're one of these people, but if you are someone who's going into The Force Awakens having seen none of the original 6 movies, what's your deal?
Yeah. Just
explain to us.
What? Yeah, just see the movies.
I think
maybe you were like very religious and your parents thought it was like the devil. I don't know.
There's got to be someone out there who's like, I've never seen these movies. I'll see this one, and like,
you're not gonna get like all the beats.
Oh yeah. At the same time, like we haven't seen it, so maybe it will be a great movie standalone.
I say the person I'm jealous of is the 50-year-old guy who saw Star Wars like the original in the theater. And like has been waiting for like 30 years something to see Han again.
Yeah. I remember seeing Return of the Jedi in the theater, and that was a lot of fun.
I'm so jealous.
That's pretty cool, man. I
think I'm the oldest one at this table, but yeah.
How old are you?
36.
Oh wow, you don't look 36.
I know, I got baby face.
You look good.
You look young, man.
Yeah. I think George Lucas is a fucking idiot, and I think I think he's a joke. Yeah.
Well, luckily George Lucas has nothing to do with this film.
So. Yeah, exactly.
But he also sold his interest in Star Wars to Disney for $4 billion. So he's a rich idiot.
Yeah, no, he's a businessman, and he made toys, but I mean, it's not fair to say he's a bad writer, he's a bad filmmaker, and what happened? Think about the Star Wars trilogy originally. Think about like some of the terrible ideas he had for Luke and Han. Like he wanted Han and Luke to be like droid-faced people and like have like weird faces and be aliens and be like 6 feet tall. You wanted Luke to be like this fat alien. When you give him that much control,
he's Kevin Smith.
He's just not a good filmmaker. And also just I think it's like the just mind-numbing, pointless dialogue in every prequel. And think of how it's shot with camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. Everything important that we have to say, we sit on a couch and have a conversation about it. We walk very comfortably across a hangar.
That's kind of why I think I said this when we talked about the trailer last time. Like people who might be concerned about how good Force Awakens, may or may not be. I think just visually, you can like go back and watch the trailer for Episode 1, and just like visually, the way the movies are made.
Yeah,
Force Awakens is gonna at the very least be a kind of decent movie.
It has a cinematographer.
Yeah, it'll be entertaining. Yeah. So this is a bad transition, but now I want to talk about my NFL pyramid. My NFL.
I'm not giving you more money, Ramon.
NFL pyramid scheme.
My NFL pyramid scheme.
Are you Ben Carson? Do you want to store grain?
Here is Ben Carson. You know, it's funny because we told you guys, for those of you who are rocking with us a couple weeks, we told you back in August. It's been the summer of Trump. It's about to be Ben Carson season. What's happening? What I told you. I tried to tell you what happened. Now, not to worry. This idiot and these idiots will kind of snowball and eat each other. The problem is there isn't a viable alternative. You know, you kind of wait for the candidates to regress to the median. I think right now the only guy that's kind of doing good work on social media and kind of doing his thing is Rubio. But he sucks. And
he's gonna get defeated by his campaign finances.
He's a baby. All right, so here's kind of the way I see the NFL. There are 3 tiers. We don't need to power rank them, and the tiers are very simple. The teams that have a franchise quarterback.
Man, I wish it would rain.
The teams that don't have a franchise quarterback. Hey, the teams that might. Teams where it might work out. So I want to go through that really quickly so that we can kind of establish, because I think where it's interesting is where it's fun. These are teams that do not have a franchise quarterback. The Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs. We like Alex Smith, but he's not a franchise quarterback. And I define that by a quarterback that is good enough to win you a Super Bowl with a couple of big plays.
You don't like check down Charlie?
Not my bag. Matthew Stafford. It's very sad because he's been on the ball for a long time, and we've liked him. Lions are about to blow up the franchise. I think it is clear that Matthew Stafford in Detroit is not a franchise quarterback. The Washington Redskins. Again, Kirk Cousins. He's a backup quarterback. He's going to have good days and bad days. The Philadelphia Eagles. Sam Bradford. Chip Kelly knows that that's not his backup quarterback, not his franchise quarterback, excuse me. He tried to trade for Marcus Mariota before the draft. He's not happy with Bradford. Bradford isn't looking good. He can't see the whole field. He's playing poorly. The St. Louis Rams, the team that traded Philly's old quarterback, Nick Foles, I think it's very clear that Nick Foles is not a franchise quarterback. He will not be able to win you a Super Bowl. He does not have an offensive identity, and he's struggling to move the ball on that field. This one pains me to say it because he did get to a Super Bowl, but he has regressed so mightily in recent years and has been benched this week. Colin Kaepernick is not currently a franchise quarterback. It's hard to say. Now we get to teams that do have a franchise quarterback, and I'll just run through these very quickly because we know who they are. And again, these are.
Also, did you already see the Browns?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Just making sure because the Browns do not have a franchise quarterback.
Now, and look, the NFL has Deadspin had a piece about the NFL's offense crisis or quarterback crisis. But I mean, you've seen it. Like, I'm a Cowboys fan. You've seen it with the Cowboys. 2-0 with Romo, 0-5 without Romo, and this is they got 53 other men on the roster, but they just can't win because the rules are set up so much that there's a very clean pocket. There's no rush. You can't really call anything on defense. All you got to do is chuck it deep, and you get 50 yards on a pass interference. Like everything is a pinball machine, and it's really, really difficult. So again, these are teams that I think have quarterbacks that can win the Super Bowl, and at least this is kind of a deep pool. The Patriots, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Colts, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Saints, the Packers, the Bears. And that's a little controversial. I think Jay Cutler is a very good player, a very good quarterback who makes poor decisions and struggles to take care of the football, but he's had a lot of bad coaches, a lot of baggage, but I also think he's kind of entering that prime of like being just north of 30 years old, and he has a lot of talent, and I think he's good enough to win a championship.
I don't think I can't see why you would say that Cutler is a franchise quarterback. Tannehill is not.
Well, Tannehill. Again, my two concerns with Tannehill is a quarterback accuracy, deep ball. Those are problems that Jay Cutler doesn't have.
Yeah,
but also
like intangible skill.
Yeah,
like Cutler's. I think he was kidding me.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Logan.
Actually, I wasn't. I disagree.
Okay.
It's also my fan of the show.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay, man.
That's cool.
It's okay. But
I like Tannehill.
I like Tannehill a lot. I think he's a legitimate franchise quarterback. He just needs the system around him to make it work.
He's at best an Alex Smith. He doesn't have the deep ball. He doesn't have the accuracy. And so I don't think you can take advantage of the rules as they're currently written. Maybe in a grittier time when you could be kind of Jim Plunkett in 1980, maybe, but I don't think he's good enough right now. And again, I just think Jay Cutler is a pinball wizard. Jay Cutler, give him time, give him space, give him receivers, and he'll chuck it and chuck it and chuck it and chuck it. The Bears have just had all sorts of problems beyond that.
He'll chuck it right into the defender's hands.
Well, he'll make bad decisions when it most matters, but I do think Jay Cutler is good enough, talented enough.
Yeah, when Alshon came back, he had couple of good.
Yeah,
good
yeah.
weeks,
Oh,
so.
he's been looking good. And that was after the Bears started blowing up that team. Rest of the list: the Giants, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Chargers. Now, this is where I think it's interesting. I'm going to ask you guys because I've been talking for like 4 minutes straight here. These are the teams that might have a franchise quarterback. These are the things we don't know. Jury's out. So I'll say a team. You guys tell me. And we'll go Logan and JC and then Elliot. The Vikings. Teddy Bridgewater. Is he a franchise quarterback?
I think the jury's still out. I mean, I know that that's kind of a cop-out answer, but
Those are awesome.
yeah.
So
I like Bridgewater. I think it's just too early to really say about him. If you ask me, like, gun to my head right now, no, he's not a franchise quarterback.
I mean, I'm gonna kind of waffle a little bit too, but because you need to see what he can do with some good receivers. Like you saw how they found Stephon Diggs out from under a rock, and all of a sudden he's doing really well.
Yeah.
The Vikings probably aren't going to do very well this year, so you figure if they get another.
Well, they're 6-2.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know if that's necessarily because of Bridgewater, though. Either.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, my point is like, yeah, you get him a little bit more help in the draft next year. No matter what round you get a receiver, like if you get him a little bit more help, yeah. I mean, you don't really know what he can do if you don't give him the weapons yet.
I say he is a franchise quarterback. I think he has the temperament for it. I think he has the brain for it. And I think he has the arm for it. Like JC said, give him just one more piece, he's going to be pretty scary to go against.
Yeah, I think here's why I'm with Elliot is
That's weird.
right now. I think a quarterback that is not a franchise quarterback doesn't have the Vikings at 6-2 and has been making bigger mistakes. In other words, forcing throws to receivers that aren't open because they're not good enough, scrambling out of the pocket, not protecting the football. He's playing within what he has, and I think that makes him a potential franchise quarterback. And I like where they're at. Plus, he's got him playing good ball. All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do they have a franchise quarterback? This is top pick in the draft. Starting to look better in recent years. His fantasy numbers have been going up steadily. He's got a good matchup this week with the Giants, by the way, all you fantasy guys. Is Jameis Winston a franchise quarterback?
No.
Okay.
I like the way he's improved in the last few weeks. I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell in anyone's rookie year, but I think, yeah, the mistakes he was making the first 2 weeks and then the way he's improved upon that, it shows me that he is a quick study at least. And, yeah, I think he might be.
He's not a leader. This is the problem.
Look, where you at?
I'm in the no camp there. I like Jameis. I think he's a hell of an athlete, but I don't think that he has the full package to really be a full franchise quarterback.
I also agree. I think the big problem mechanically, and this is something that I read. I don't know, it's on some site. Basically, he's got a little Mark Sanchez syndrome, which is when he drops back to pass, his head becomes a little bit of a bobblehead because he's scanning. He's
Little
scanning
George Clooney in 1996.
up and down, and you need to be able to. First of all, that's a bad tell, but you also need to be able to drop back and keep a steady frame, confident frame, scan the field without bobbing your head up and down. There's a little bit of a desperate part of his game that I don't like that, and plus I just think I don't love it. All right, Marcus Mariota, is he a franchise quarterback in Tennessee Titans?
He is, but not at the Titans.
Interesting.
Ooh, that's a good distinction.
Like he's the type of quarterback who, in the right system, can take you all the way. But I am not convinced the Titans have the staff, the tools, the support to make that happen.
I like that, JC.
I think he's proven to be more of a leader than people thought. I know that was one of the big concerns coming in because he's sort of the lead by example guy as opposed to being a vocal leader. But I think it seems like the team has responded to him his rookie year. So I would say, yeah.
Elliot.
I honestly I don't have enough information. I know Jameis Winston's never going to be a franchise quarterback. I can tell that now. But with Mariota, it seems like his floor is like just being a middle of the road sort of Josh McCown type of guy.
Yeah.
But his ceiling is like an Eli Manning. I could see him being that good. It just depends on how much work he puts into it. I just don't know how committed he is to it. Because it's easy to be good when you're playing some people that you're so much better than. Like Vince Young was great at college, and then he could not deal with the fact that everybody was as good as him athletically.
Yeah.
He didn't have that next step. It's like one of the things I think has been the real criminally underreported story of this year has been Cam Newton taking that next step. Because he is so much better than he used to be. He didn't have to get better. He could have just shuffled. He could have just sort of walked along, been as good as he was. Panthers could have had like middling years. He could have gone somewhere else, made a bunch of money. But he is committed to being better. And I don't like Cam Newton, but he's a franchise quarterback, and it's all about Mariota can go inside himself and say, why am I doing this? Am I doing this just to make some money, have some fun, or do I want to be the best? Because if he wants to be the best, he can be the best.
How did you not trip yourself up in the when you said go inside himself?
I sort of heard myself saying it, and I was like, just keep talking, Elliot. This is what you do. This is what you do.
Yeah, I think Marcus Mariota, his ceiling is Aaron Rodgers. He's that good. Tall, 6'4", laser arm, quick, moves, gets rid of the ball quickly.
Smart dude.
I think that's kind of what it is. It's the quick release and the smart decision. Yeah. I think it's like.
Yeah, but I'm kind of with Logan. Is he going to have a chance to be good? Now here's another guy again coming,
to America,
coming off of a team that is terrible. This is a terrible team. But first round pick, jury's still out on how good he is. He's Blake Bortles, the number 1 selling jersey in the league. Is he a franchise quarterback?
I'm going to go with my last answer too. I think that he has the tangibles to be a good quarterback. He's not a good enough quarterback to make a team on his own. Definitely not in Jacksonville. If he was coached by Bill Belichick, if he was with New England, he could do that. But he's going to need someone to hold his hand the whole way through, I think.
He's someone I'd probably say no, because there are only so few franchise quarterbacks out there, and I waffled enough on this many. I think if I had to be definitive on one, I would say no.
Yeah, I gave a lot of caveats there, so because of all the caveats I gave, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no too.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think he's not NFL accurate. He's a specimen, but he hasn't shown himself to be a gamer right now.
Great garbage time fantasy QB though.
Yeah,
he's a young Andy Dalton.
Now here's another one. All of a sudden, again, if the playoffs started today, they'd be in. Oakland Raiders, Derek Carr. Is he going to be a franchise quarterback?
I like Derek Carr.
Maybe.
I like him a lot. Ooh, franchise is a strong word.
Yeah.
I like him because, but only because, with the caveat that he's paired up with a great receiver in Amari Cooper. And so I think you got both of them early in their careers, and so if you lock both of them up and build around that, then it's going to appear as if he's a fantasy quarterback. And so,
yeah.
I think he's going to be a middle-of-the-road quarterback. He's going to be a game manager. I don't think he's going to win you games, so I would say no. But he's not going to be bad. He's not going to be Bortles.
I think he's going to be good at taking advantage of the tools at his disposal. I think what they have going on in Oakland right now is something pretty special. I think that they're overperforming, and they're going to continue to do so. Are they going to make it to the playoffs? Probably not. But I've had a lot of fun watching what they've been doing so far.
If you want to talk about a surprise, I'm going to take it to sort of geek stuff.
All right.
My surprise of the fall for things that I have loved as an aside, haven't done so well. Gossip Girl is a good show.
That's what I'm talking
I'm just
about.
putting it out there. If you want to watch a show that you're going to enjoy at a certain level, watch some Gossip Girl. I'm just saying. It's on Netflix, all seasons. I'm on the second season right now.
I am not going to do that.
I started watching The Arrow last night on your recommendation, and
Which one?
Arrow.
Yeah. How are you liking it so far?
It's pretty good. I watched the first 2 episodes.
Season 2 gets so good.
That pilot's kind of rough, but it gets better.
I enjoyed it. I'm going to stick with it. So I'm also not a super critical person in general. So
on that note, do we have any Twitter questions?
It
doesn't look like.
No, but there's one. I thought it was a pretty good one.
Do trigger fingers indeed turn into Twitter fingers?
Michael McCarrick at Mike_McCarrick. Since the World Series is no longer relevant, he wants to know what's the best sporting event that we've ever been to in person.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, first of all, you're getting us to talk about ourselves, and I feel kind of bad about that. But
why? We're awesome.
Man, I don't know. I've gotten to see some pretty cool NFL games. I'll probably say I saw a Patriots-Ravens game that went down to the wire a couple of years ago in Baltimore. It was like bananas. I've seen a couple of really cool Cowboys games. So the best individual performance, the thing that sticks out to me right now, and this is by far the best UT game I've seen. 2004, University of Texas is losing 35-7 at home to Oklahoma State when a young Vince Young gets going, and the final score is 56-35. He just went completely off. I think that's probably my favorite memory. What about you?
You said, I think the best memories are ones where you can remember what you were doing and maybe you even affects the game. My favorite time at any sporting event ever was either my freshman or my sophomore year of college, and LSU was playing Ole Miss. Eli Manning was there because he was the quarterback at Ole Miss back then, and it was raining, and LSU does this shit, and they always do it where like sometimes players just don't feel like playing, and they're like, I don't really care. But the student section, we for some reason were just crazy that day and just would not stop cheering, even when they were down. They were down by like 2 touchdowns. And we were we all hated Eli Manning. I still hate that mouth-fucking breathing dummy. Like, we were just yelling the worst shit you could to him to get inside his head. And then, like, towards the end of the fourth quarter, I mean, we had just been yelling, like, you fucked your mom, like, everything we could think to be, like, you mouth-breathing, homunculus, soon, like, shit-eating donkey fucking motherfucker. Like, just as loud as we could. And, I mean, just incessantly in rounds.
If y'all could remind me to add the NSFW tag with this, that I'd appreciate.
And then in the fourth quarter, he starts looking behind him when he's by the student section. And he starts making eye contact with us, and we just start really just needling him. We're like, needle dick, what the fuck is wrong with you? And like he starts like missing passes, like he's getting so pissed. LSU ends up winning that game, I think, on an interception. It's like, and so as he's like walking, he has to walk past us to go back to his locker room because they switched it for some reason. We're like, you suck. Go fuck yourself. Like, it was the best. I'm sorry, that's an LSU fan for you. That was the best memory.
The Neil Dick game. We all remember that one. Casey, what about you, man?
When I was a freshman in high school, my family took in a Brazilian foreign exchange student, and his dad in Sao Paulo was a sports journalist. And so he was assigned to cover the 1997 Final Four in Indianapolis. And so like, he took me, and his name is Pedro, my foster brother, took us to Indianapolis, and it was one of the great Final Fours. In 1997, championship game was Arizona versus Kentucky. Arizona ended up winning. Got to see Lute Olson win a championship. Wow. I think it's might still be the only championship game that went into overtime.
The Kentucky Arizona.
Yeah. So I got to see that game in overtime. Derek Anderson, who was a guy I liked a lot in college, was injured that season in Kentucky, but there was the college has this weird rule where if a player is injured, you can choose whoever to shoot free throws or something like that, something to that effect. And so Derek Anderson dressed, but he wasn't healthy enough to play, but he shot 2 free throws in the game.
That's awesome.
So I thought that was cool.
That is awesome. I guess for me, also, I had a joke. I forget.
Logan. I guess mine's a little bit more somber, but it was still good.
Can I guess?
It's the bonfire.
Yeah.
No.
I thought it was the bonfire.
That was there pretty much too, but yes, that was a big one. So in Austin we have the Texas Stars, which is it's the minor league hockey team. Kind of farm team for the Dallas Stars from the NHL. And I got the pleasure of going on a double date with one of my buddies and my now current fiance, along with.
Congratulations, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Along with.
I expect an invite.
Oh, sure. All right. If you want to.
And you better serve lobster.
Do you want to fly to Hawaii?
You better pay.
I'm not paying shit. I'm barely paying for my own.
Just like you, Steve Martin.
Yeah, anyways, so like it was me and my fiance and my buddy and his date. Her name was Esme.
That's a pretty name.
And it was kind of the first year of the Texas Stars' existence. They were the first, or at least first year into that thing. And it was a wonderful game. It was a lot of fun. It was the Calder Cup, kind of the first game of the Calder Cup, which is basically the Stanley Cup equivalent for the minor league team. So in the very first year, the Texas Stars managed to make it all the way up to the finals.
I know what the story's going. Please continue.
And that was wonderful. And it was a wonderful memory. It was a lot of fun. And it's a sad thing. But unfortunately, later in the year, Esme was actually got murdered. And so it was kind of a bittersweet moment, or it was a very, very sad moment.
Yeah, it was a really jarring story that kind of locked, because it was like a New Year's Eve murder.
It was New Year's Eve. Someone had broken into her house, I believe, and it was the Austin community, particularly the music community, because she was very active in the Austin music community.
I was like, why do I know that name?
Yeah. Like really kind of rallied around that. And if you guys search for Esme Barrera, then you'll kind of find information about her. She was a wonderful human being, true amazing person, true music fan, and it was a strange kind of thing, because the game itself was a lot of fun. It kind of reinvigorated my excitement for hockey, but also I felt a lot of thrill and pleasure, having to have that moment spent with her.
I remember when that happened, reading. I didn't know her obviously, but I remember reading about her and seeing the way the community was supporting her. I was like, in a weird way, I kind of felt guilty that I didn't know this girl. I was like, I would have wanted to know this girl. This girl sounds awesome.
Yeah, she was pretty fantastic. I feel really lucky that I got to know her. I was a part of. It's the same softball league that I'm a part of now. She was kind of a big spirit animal in that whole scene, and I feel very lucky that I got a chance to be a part of that too. So,
well, there you go. I guess probably we shouldn't really mess up that memory. Thank you for listening to Inside the Locker. We'll see you guys next week. I've already had enough to drink. I'm already slurring my speech just a little bit. I'm waiting at that point. So we want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in. Logan for sharing. JC and Elliot for coming through. Shout out to Penny the dog, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Woo.
Oh, there you go. It's just right at the moment. All right.
Do you just want to make picks next week?
Bye, folks.
Shit.
Oh, we can still do it. I can edit it in there too.
No.
Are you sure? Yeah, it won't be. I can edit it before the last thing.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
That was a good show.
Okay.
I feel bad we should have made the picks.
That's fine.
All right.
Damn it. I'm sorry, man.
Bye, kids.
That was cool.